Welcome to the Claws Out podcast. We are back at the mic'd up studio here in Parramatta, West Tigers TV, less than 24 hours after the Tigers' magnificent Golden Point 22-20 victory over the Eels at Combank Stadium. I'm joined by Coach Adel, who's in the house again. We've got Steve and we've got Rob. But, Coach, I think you said to me it's good, before we put the teams on the screen, because it is Teams Tuesday, it's good to finally be at full strength, and I agree with you.
Oh, you're talking about in the studio?
I am, yeah.
Gary, I didn't say that. It was Eddie, not me.
Where is Gary today? He's helping out Josh. He's doing the team thing.
Well, if this is going live, I know where he is now. He's in his car on his way over. That's for sure. That's what he'll be doing.
Steve, you're part of the coffee club. Was it coffee or golf with Benji today? It would have been a West Tigers day off, given they played yesterday.
It was video today. We just sat down with Benji, took him through the video, and pointed out a few things that he missed through the week, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And Rob, welcome. Adrenaline was high last night. How are you feeling less than 24 hours after that double shift you did last night?
Very tired, mate. I was extremely excited. Got home, went through all the social media stuff, watched the replay again, and I'm not exaggerating, went to bed at 3:45. It was just a beautiful day.
And Coach's report, I thought that, because we're always looking for combinations and dynamic and chemistry, I thought Rob Jr., it was like having Cleary and Luai together. I think that's a long-term combination. What do you think, Coach?
Oh, I don't know about Cleary and Luai. I think you're being disrespectful to those two blokes. Maybe Daniel Fitzhenry and I'm not sure. Moses
Come on, mate. You're better than Daniel Fitzhenry.
Peter
no, that was Junior. I'm Moses Mbai.
On a serious note, though, Rob, there's not. I watch a lot of podcast rugby league, and some good ones out there and established ones, but there's not a lot of content like that, like Coach's report, where they go in such technical details about tries. And I learn something every time I listen to those guys. And having Junior on last night to push back a little bit and add a little bit of needle, I thought it was great.
It's a pleasure working with him. I've done it for a year and a half now or thereabouts, and some of the things he says, I just think, where did you find that from? That is just so brilliant. Look, I watched the game with him yesterday, and he was pointing out things to me again that I didn't see, and how he's looking at it. And if I thought something was wrong or I was critical about something, he goes, no, that's a good thing. Like, for example, I remember Adam pushed a pass on the last tackle and it went behind someone into touch, and I'm like, oh, no, that's bad. We should have forced a repeat. So he goes, no, I like that, and I want to stay aggressive. And just his mindset and how he looks at it, he doesn't discourage going for it. I think he's the sort of coach that would encourage his players to back themselves and play to the way you want to play. But yeah, we're 2 for 2 when we're watching games together. So we might have to get the club to bring him down every week and watch the West Tigers 100%. Together.
Big shout out to our listeners and our viewers, Rob, because last night we did 2 shows, but already I think 4.5K views in total. I know we've got over 3K subscribers now, so couldn't do it without them.
Emotions were high yesterday. I think it's an advantage doing a show straight after the game, particularly that we've won, particularly a controversial game. And as I said last night, just take the footy away. It was an entertainment spectacle. It was like being at a heavyweight boxing bout, boys. It was just something, even walking out of the ground, you could just hear the buzz and the noise and people whinging and people celebrating and yahooing, and it's just good that we're on the right end of it for once, mate.
I think you described it last week. There'd be haymakers coming from both sides, and that turned out to be the case.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I probably thought it was going to be a little bit more open. Maybe we dragged them down into what we wanted, and we kicked really well into the corners. And I only got the opportunity to watch Jerome's interview with Cooper Cronk pre-game, where sort of Cronk led him into talking about what the tactics are going to be. And Jerome talked about that we've got a little bit of flair in our game, or we like to have a little bit of flair, but he wanted us to focus on making sure we're kicking into the corners and making sure Parramatta were coming off their own line, and we did that really well. So, yeah, I think we decided and dictated for the majority of that game what the game was going to look like, and it worked to our advantage.
We will give the boys about 10 minutes to the end today, because it was at very short notice yesterday and they've had a chance to look at the replay. So I'm going to ask them at the end if there's anything they picked up that they didn't pick up yesterday being live at the ground. But, Rob, just one last one. We mentioned our listeners and viewers. We've got a special giveaway today. We're going to be giving out a double pass to the game at Campbelltown on Sunday. It's a top-of-the-table clash, second against third. We tried to make it interactive yesterday. We're going to get some of the comments on the screen. So if there's any comments on YouTube in the next hour, I'll try and write a couple down, and I'll announce the winner at the end of the show, Rob, and they'll be off to Campbelltown next Sunday. Yeah,
and thank you to the West Tigers, Ben in particular, for reaching out to Steve and offering double passes. There are more double passes being given away on West Tigers Life. But, yeah, really pleased that the club are, getting behind us as a podcast as well, and helping our fans who, want to see our team doing being successful.
Let's put the West Tigers team on the screen. It was announced just over an hour ago, 4 o'clock Tuesday. At the moment, it was just the one change. It was Luke Lalili out, suspended, Steve, I believe, for a week. I'm not sure if they've taken the early plea or whether that's still up for debate, but Jarrell Skelton named on the left wing. Did that surprise you, or is that an obvious change?
No, I think that's an obvious change. I don't think there's any surprises in the team at all. I think Herbert's there at 19. I think he's there to cover Tavana. I think if Tavana doesn't come through with his hamstring, Taruva will go to the wing and Herbert will go in to centre. Apart from that, I think it'll be pretty much 1 to 19 as picked.
Coach, I noticed that Patrick Herbert, for the first time this year, is probably that outside back on the bench as cover.
Yeah, it surprises me because as Steve just said then, he's potentially there to cover if Tino gets injured, which will mean Tito will go to the right wing, but that means Patrick Herbert's playing right centre, and all we've seen Patrick Herbert do is play left centre throughout the preseason in the New South Wales Cup. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. One, it tells me I think Tavana's okay, and the secondary part to that is Stafford Toa's not in the 22.
Are you surprised by that?
Absolutely. I mean, regardless of whether we think he's up to it or his fitness levels are up to scratch, I mean, you can name him in the 22 and then he can drop out later. So very surprising from my perspective.
Benji's talked about standards in the past. We saw Royce Hunt languishing for a long time in New South Wales Cup last year. Do you think it's potentially a message to Toa that you're going to have to really earn your spot back into a winning side?
I can't give you the exact answer, but it's surprising because we watched the game yesterday. He came off after about 60 minutes, and then our right winger, who you might know the name of, his name escapes me, but Fyenga, he got injured, and then Stafford Toa came back on. So there's seems to be, excuse me, nothing wrong with him physically, but perhaps it's a conditioning thing. I can't put it down to anything else, but you know we've got to trust the club. I mean, they know the players better than anyone, and yeah, if they've decided that's who we're going with, that's wonderful. I'm just a little bit concerned about Herbert if he has to play defensively.
Skelton, what do you think the messaging would have been him, aspects of his game that Benji wanted to improve over the past couple of weeks?
I think he's got to hold the ball. That's the first thing. Yeah, get the errors out of his game. Defensively, he can make poor decisions. He knows that. Like he at an interview actually said, look, defensively, I'm not up to speed where I need to be. So he's aware of that. So he just needs to. Like, we need to keep. Like, we'll get into this, right? So I'm not going too far into it, but we need to keep a really good line, a good defensive line on the weekend because they will cream us on the edge, especially our left, their right, and so we need to make good decisions and trust each other, which we haven't really been doing 100% in the last couple of weeks. So that's what he'd be being told, I reckon.
We spoke about Macassini yesterday. Is there any chance he could shift to the left wing and Skelton inside him, or you think it'll remain as is?
No. Hamasi will play. I don't think Skelton at centre is definitely not a solution. Never played there in his life, so I don't think that'll be the solution. But it's going to be interesting to see how we line up once game time comes around.
Okay, the Newcastle side, the Flying Knights at the moment, they're 4-1. They've got Bradman Best out, so that's a big loss. Kalen Ponga and Dylan Brown remain out of the side. De Courcy comes in at centre. I think he was activated last week, Rob. Came on at half-time for the injured Bradman Best. It's not a side that screams strike power on paper, but like the West Tigers, they're playing out of their skin at the moment.
Yeah, that was, I think, Sunday was a very sort of dour game at first. Canberra scored early. They were up 6-0. Newcastle didn't really get on top till the second half. Dane Gagai went berserk in the second half, especially on Ethan Sanders. But they seem to play more of a, what would you call it, a counter-attacking style. They're not really a side you worry about in attack, but if they get the opportunities, they'll pounce.
A lot of similarities, I think, between the two clubs. Obviously, been down and out over the past 5 years, 3 wooden spoons in a row for us. They got the wooden spoon last year, and they haven't exactly gone on a recruitment spree over the off-season. It's a lot of the same squad that played last year. Obviously, the coaching change under Justin Holbrook, but they look like they've built their foundations on defence, team mentality, and fitness, like the West Tigers have.
Yeah, like you can't criticise them because they're in a good position so far early in the season. It's so obvious that the changing coaches had a huge impact there at that club. I had a good look at them today, and I think what you just said, Eddie's right. Like they play fairly simply. They just roll down the field. But I think we can get them. I think we've got a better. I think we've got a better attack that can break down their defence. Yeah.
Biggest difference in Newcastle this year, Coach, outside of the obvious coaching change?
I mean, the coaching change, what it does is it takes away the excuse from the players. So they have to step up. There's been some structural things you can tell. They've got a new assistant coach, both in attack and defence. But again, much maligned assistant coaches. So Stephen Hales, who's a friend of mine, he was at Manly last year. He was the attack coach at Manly. He's gone to Newcastle. Brett White's come from the Gold Coast Titans. So two clubs that haven't had much success. It's probably more the change in attitude of the players and the environment more so than anything else. Because you're bringing in three coaches who, to be fair, in their last 5 or 6 years haven't had much success. So realistically, it's probably on the players more than anything.
I reckon that shows Adel, because you got two of their you got their two marquee players out, and you wouldn't say Newcastle's had a next man up mentality, right, in recent years, but this year they really haven't missed a beat.
I think for them, and I showed the stat to all of us privately today, the fact that they complete really well. I think it's the number one stat. I mean, possession is probably the most important stat in the game, but if you can complete high in this competition, it means you're probably going to get the majority share of possession, and that's what they're doing. They're getting to their kick. They're not coming up with shit errors out of their own end. They're making sure the opposition team is getting the ball in positions that they want them to have it, and then it's saying, if you're going to come through us, you're going to have to do it the hard way.
He was heavily criticised last year, though, Adam O'Brien. I'm not sure what their completion rate was, but for playing a fairly basic sort of brand of football, or it looked like the Shackles were sort of, especially guys like Kai Pearce-Paul, they had, I think, 10 halves last year where they didn't score a point in the first half.
Look, and again, I mean, we don't pay attention to the new Knights that much. My theory is Adam O'Brien went all in on Kalen Ponga. When you base your system around one player, if that player is not playing, you're in a bit of trouble. Because when he played, I thought they were a pretty decent football side. The moment that player's out, well, you're in big trouble. It looks like the new system basically is around the whole squad. What helps with that is they've got Dylan Brown on the side. So it basically puts a little bit of a focus that it's not going to be a one indicator player, so that if those two guys are out, a little bit like us at the moment, right, then it means the system doesn't really change. It's just the player that steps up into that position. The other thing I'll say, I think the opposition they've come up against the last 2 weeks have been pretty poor.
Two of last year's top four, though.
Yep, they've still been really poor in my eyes. So
Bulldogs and Raiders.
Minor Premier's one of them.
Yeah, but they've been, I think both those teams have been underwhelming, and the form going into the game, I agree with Steve. I know we're going to tip later on, but I'm so confident going into this week.
Yeah, I don't think we should take them lightly. I said that they're up the top for a reason, right? Or towards the top for a reason. But I watched that game, mate, and Canberra was so slow. They gave them so much space, and Gagai in particular, and Dominic Young to a lesser degree, just took advantage of that space that he had.
It was, I mean, Rob already talked about Sanders' missed. That's reserve grade defence, from an individual. And I'm surprised he's actually playing first grade this week. But I actually think this team, Steve, will not take them easily. It looks like our boys, and it's a little bit, if we keep winning, I can see some articles coming out about our swag and our arrogance a little bit, and I like that. I feel like our boys go into every game with no fear. Doesn't matter who the opposition is. We've got a bunch of guys now that feel like they are better than the opposition, and if we win, we win, and if we lose, we'll lose going down swinging. But, yeah, I'm so confident.
I feel their last two games are very similar to our games. Like the other team comes out at them hard. Canterbury came out at them hard. Canberra come out of hard. They kind of give their best shot. And then when they kind of run out of a bit of a steam, then Newcastle just come over the top. And they're very similar to us. Adel's already mentioned they're missing, well, now they're three strike players, really, when you include Bradman Best. And we're missing Luai and Taylor May, Stafford Tower as well. I know he's available, but like they're three of our strike players as well. It's such a similar storyline to us. And as you said last night, who would have picked West Tigers and Newcastle Knights to be second and third?
Let's get back to our boys, Steve. Different mental and I suppose more physical challenge. 6-day turnaround. We've had a 10-day turnaround into Parramatta, so we would have gone into that game fresh. But that was a sapping game yesterday in Golden Point, so that's a challenge for Benji and the boys.
Yeah, it is, but I don't. Well, I can only speak for myself. I don't think I give them enough credit for how fit they are and how well they recover. As you guys know, I went to Auckland and sat there and watched that game. And even though we won and won well, mate, we got smashed. Coming off our line, they were absolutely smashing us, and we just took it and took it and took it, and eventually we got over the top. And I thought that would that would have consequences against Para, but it didn't. Like they obviously mentioned this last night how they adjust loads and everything through the week at training. So
we did have a 10-day break though.
That's true. We did have a 10-day break. So this is 4 days shorter. But I suppose what I'm saying is I have more confidence that these guys know what they're doing and they will prepare these players the way they have to get them ready.
This stuff is all planned pre-season. So they know the turnarounds. I mean, the draw's done so far
November,
in advance. And Steve talked about it last night, and I mentioned it the other week. With the new GPS data that they get, basically what that means is they know every single player's load. And what they'll do is, you don't understand the efforts that all those high-performance staff put in. They will adjust this week to what yesterday looked like. So that extra 5 minutes that the boys did and the extra kilometre maybe that one player did that he normally wouldn't do, they'll take that off this week's training load. But the week and what it looks like will not be any different because they would have had that planned out. It's all planned out. What
will it look like, though? It would have been a day off today. Would it be just one sort of main ball session on the Wednesday or Thursday and then a captain run Saturday? Or
no, so usually they'll do – so if what's today, Tuesday?
Yep.
They'll have probably a skill-based session tomorrow, so they call that a +2 day post-game. So the load, there won't be anything heavy unless those guys need top-ups, so they'll use that as the day. The third day after that, so basically the Thursday, they'll put in a heavy session in preparation. But again, the high-performance staff will decide, do we need to go heavy for a period of 15, 20, 30 minutes? It's never usually that long, but depending on what the week looked like previously. And then obviously they get Friday off to freshen up and they'll have a captain's run on Sunday. Or Saturday, sorry.
It's funny, I don't know if you guys noticed, but after the cup game, just before the first grade came out, there was a few of the Magpies guys that obviously hadn't had many minutes. They were doing up and back, up and downs for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, different clubs do it differently. Our boys, it looks like, don't do it after the game. Moose must have something else, and they probably don't want to shame the players. I mean, I think it's shit to do it straight after the game there at full time. You can manage that through the week and just make their load early in the week a little bit better. But some clubs do that. I think it was the Dragons the other night were doing it with like 5 or 6 of their guys. They should have done with all 19, to be fair.
Well, we're in safe hands, aren't we? Your mate from the Dolphins wanted you to mention the Moose, Peter Mooser. Is he the most important man at Concord this week on a 6-day turnaround?
And, geez, I'll get emotional talking about this. I don't trust anyone else with my life more than that. He's someone that helped me health-wise when I broke my back 10 years ago. The other thing I know is him and Benji have got the greatest relationship you'll ever see. They trust each other so much.
That's what it's about.
What I know this for a fact, that when Benji sort of come into the role, the first thing he wanted was Moose at the club. I don't know if you've watched the May Day podcast today with Taylor May, and he talks about
the first bit of it.
What Moose did when his shoulder popped out, and he said that he's a miracle man, and how he popped my shoulder right back in, but that he sat there and gave me the talk and said, "You're coming off." You can see the respect from the players as well. And I know Moose, and Rob, you know Moose well enough to know it's also a really important relationship to make sure the boys that are injured are still locked in. And the culture around the club, around those two guys and what they're being able to build is so important. It's a little thing, right? But yesterday, if you look at all the ball kids, Moose's 2 kids, Hino's kid, or daughter, I think it was, Johnny Morris's son, Benji's son, and Uppy Coruscant's daughter was doing the first thing yesterday.
Family first. That was Benji and Richo preached for years. But Campbelltown Stadium, Rob, it's so important for the club. We've committed for the next 15 years there. I think there's going to be 8 or 9 games there next year. Hopefully an upgrade to the stadium coming in the next couple of years. But our record there has been modest at best over the 25 years, but it's been horrendous the last 5 years. And I know we've had wooden spoon years, but in that period, 2 of our last 15 at Campbelltown, including a 10-game losing streak. And in that same period, we've won 7 of our last 10 games at Leichhardt. So is that a player's mentality that they've got to take ownership, or is that more a fans thing where the fans have got to create a better atmosphere there?
I don't think anyone has to worry about it. I'm going to take Benji's mantra on this. That's all history. This is a new year, and we're doing things differently this year. I definitely accept the fans have to get there. I've been pushing that for 2 weeks. I want not only that, I want everyone to become a member. I want everyone to be out there. We've got to fill this ground out on Sunday. The reality is we haven't played finals for 15 years. If we're going to play finals, we need to be playing well at Campbelltown and winning games there. And as Adel mentioned last night, you win a couple of away games, you've broken the serve, a couple of times to use the tennis parlance. We've got a whole serve now. We're up 4-1 with a double break. We need to get to 5-1 and get to 10 points. So
I can tell you, Sean Milkamp, one of his major objectives is to turn every home ground into a fortress. He says we've got to be better at that. We've got to influence the game from the grandstand. That's one of his key priorities is to get the fans. He tried to start that hill concept at Parramatta there last year. Didn't quite work, but they're still trying things. They want to do that. And we've just got it, man. Like they're giving away tickets already Like the club, like they want to sell the place out. Well, we've got to get behind it and sell this place out. If Campbelltown is not sold out this Sunday, there is something seriously wrong with our fan base.
To be fair though, Steve, it was sold out 3 times in 2024 in 4 games when we got the
It was sold out last year against the Broncos, wasn't it, as well?
That was 24, I think,
Was it
against
24?
the Broncos. 3 times again, and that last round, that spoon bowl, that infamous spoon bowl against Parramatta, sold out. So I don't think it's a matter of the fans not getting behind the team, but the team's got to get them reason to get excited. And last year, Coach, even though we lost all 4 games there, we could have won all 4. We lost by 2 to the Warriors. Galvin dropped the ball over the line against South.
Lost by 2 to the Knights first game.
2 to the Knights first game, 10-8. And then there was another, I think, against Canberra where we completely dominated the game on Friday night and lost. So that could have been 3-1 there last year.
I'm going with Rob and Benji. It's a new year. It's a new team. It's a new attitude. And I have no doubt they will focus on it. They will talk about Campbelltown. They will understand the responsibility and the enormity of this week's game because we've talked about that. There's more than that on the line. The other thing we haven't done in a long time is win 3 in a row. These are sort of milestones that, as a coach, you draw from every little bit of motivation at different times in the year. And we're going to look at that, and that's going to be something that I reckon is going to be a motto for us this week. Campbelltown and 3 in a row.
I think the club needs to understand too, and I'm sure they do. I want a family to go out there this week. I want some young kids with their mum or their dad or both to have such a great time and say, gee, that was so much fun. It'd be nice if we win as well. But get that feeling, and then, in 40, 50 years from now, they're nut jobs like us. They're hooked. They want to go to the game next time.
The reality is, Rob, winning solves everything. It's like Penrith.
Yeah, I know, but we also have it.
People in Penrith love Penrith now. All of a sudden, they're proud of their Mountie kit. Like a lot of my friends are out there. You become proud when your area team is winning, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. People in Balmain, like us, that sort of it doesn't matter where we live. We're rusted on Balmain people. Campbelltown,
they'll follow winners.
They're going to have to because it's a new demographic out there.
But we've never got our footprint in there,
Absolutely.
Adel. So we need to.
But winning will do that.
It's actually more important to win there than to win at Leichhardt.
I think it's winning in general. If we don't win at Campbelltown but make the 8 and we're in the finals, I think that helps. But if we were winning games at Campbelltown and still not making the 8, I don't think it makes a difference. It's winning as a club and winning together every week.
And it's not just packing the place out; it's turning it into a fortress. And there's a difference. I've been at Campbelltown when there's been a good crowd and it's deadly quiet, and a lot of that's to do with the way the team's playing, obviously, right? But when we get out there, we've got to be, and I don't like to compare because people get upset. But we've got to turn Campbelltown buzz into a Leichhardt buzz. We've got to have that intensity that we get at Leichhardt now. I don't know how easy that is, but we've got to try it.
Well, my conspiracy theory is everyone gets half pissed at the pubs at Balmain and Leichhardt before they go to Leichhardt and walk down, and they're ready to scream and yell and banter. I
do that at Campbelltown before the game at the Leeds Club.
I've gone to Campbelltown for a number of
years now.
You
do that before church on Sunday morning, mate.
Church, where's that?
I've gone to Campbelltown for a number of years now, and I do see a difference in the last 18 months. I think the crowd is getting a lot more parochial. I feel a different vibe there. I love going there myself, but I know it's not Leichhardt, but that's just no excuse. There's no difference to how I'm going to cheer this week and lose my voice yesterday to how I would at Campbelltown or how I would at Leichhardt or Combank.
The reality is because the crowd, when things start going south, you're expecting it. It's like, well, if we lose, we've always lost here. If you win 3 games at Campbelltown and the 4th game you get there and the game is on the line, it's like, hang on, no, we don't lose here, and we'll be a bit more aggressive. The crowd becomes a little bit more agitated, and that's where that atmosphere
We don't
comes.
want to get too far ahead, but we've got 3 home games in a row, 2 at Campbelltown, 1 at Leichhardt against the Raiders. So this is a real opportunity to go at least 5-2, 6-1, and really get a footprint on the competition for ourselves and afford a loss or 2 if need be or if someone gets injured.
I'm not a big sort of stats guy, Steve, and believing in past records between the clubs, but I'll do it. It's Newcastle 22 wins to West Tigers 18. There were 2 games last year, both early in the season as well. Rob mentioned that round 1 game. It was a bit of a bludger of a game. We lost 10-8, but we got them back in round 6, 20 points to 4 in Newcastle. Anything we can gather from those 2 games?
Well, not a lot really. Like we've got to maintain what Benji's saying. It's a whole new squad with a different attitude. But I suppose there is one thing, because in both those games, we started strong. Right now, we didn't get. Is that right? Or have I got that wrong? Yeah, we started strong.
We led 8-0 that first game.
We started strong. So we've got this thing at the moment where we're not getting much result for effort in that first 15, 20 minutes. Maybe we can look back at a game like that and say, well, what did we do there? How can we bring that this week?
It'd be nice to score the first try for once.
Eddie,
So I don't
the
have
thing
to
I
send those
remember-
negative messages on the chat every game.
The thing I remember the most about that is I think it was Skelton scored very early, maybe after 5 or 6 minutes. We didn't score for the rest of the game a try. So it was, like you said, a bludger of a game. We had Fatah Ape at right centre, and Taruva was our new signing, and he basically caught pneumonia on the right wing. We played everything down the left towards Dewey and Skelton on their side, and it was a very simple game. When we played literally the next week against Parramatta, we went to Stafford Toa because he was back and we were scoring down the right. And you go to that second event against Newcastle up there where we won, what was it, 32-6? I think we scored every try down the right, like via Galvin Toa, except one try in the second half off a loose ball where Luai passed it to Dewey and he scored. So we were very right side centric in attack in the second game, but in the first game we were left side centric.
Coach, let's look at the outside back matchups. Dom Young, he started the season in hot form. He can be rocks and diamonds, but he'll be playing on that right wing for Newcastle. What's on your tip sheet for him?
I'm not going near him. And not because of him, it's because of the left side. I'm going at Greg Marzu and I'm going to Wilson De Courcy on debut. I thought yesterday it was actually pretty clear we should have done the same thing. I'm honestly sitting at training this week and I'm saying we're just playing to our left post or left edge or whatever you want to go, and we're just going to bombard their right side because Greg Marzu's never been someone who makes good decisions defensively anyway. With a rookie on debut, Kai Pearce-Paul and the type of form he's in, and the fact that I just believe that everything we do to our right-hand side feels like opposition teams aren't sort of prepared for it because of how deadly our left-hand side has been, even when Jerome has been out. It just means that there's that opportunity for us to take advantage of that lack of prep from other teams on that left-hand side of the field. But it's also the personnel. I also think the really important part of that is Fletcher Sharp defenders on the left-hand side. I want to make sure he's the only, respectfully, he's the danger for them. I want him making as much tackles as possible.
I'll flip that, though. Newcastle will be coming right, won't they? Because, I mean, Gagai, I know he's 35, but he tore that Ethan Sanders apart last week defensively, and Dom Young is a strike player at wide, and they would have looked at our left edge defence and it hasn't been the best.
It's going to sound crazy. I think our left edge has actually gotten better defensively. Luke's made some poor decisions, but even when we went down to 12 men, I actually thought we defended it really well. It was just some disconnect. What I will say is this, correct me if I'm wrong, Fletcher Hunt's been named a fullback.
He is. Yep.
You just go and get him all day because he's got no ball playing in him. It's sell out, go Hamasi, go get him one-on-one, and if they're good enough to throw long balls or kick him behind, we'll take that every single day of the week.
He's not the safest under the high ball either. He had a decent game, Fletcher Hunt, last
Really?
week. Yeah, mate, I think he's got some errors.
I think he's an aerial weapon.
Yeah, he is.
No, he'll go up high, but I'm saying defensively, if you put high balls up, I reckon he'll make some mistakes.
I wouldn't be kicking to. I'd be kicking to Marju.
Marju?
Yeah, and I'd be kicking behind Marju. Like what Adel said, set up on the left and go right. It gives you basically three options. You can either run that block shape. You can give Kai Pearce-Paul early ball to do what he did for Buller the other day, and even better still, if Kai Pearce-Paul runs that lead line, you can put a grubber kick through because Marju jams up. So there's so many things we can do from that. But I can't agree with you about Fletcher Sharp. I will say one thing. Fletcher Hunt. Sorry, you're right about his ball playing, but he did a beautiful around the corner pass the other day for the last try.
Yeah, that was off broken play.
Off broken play.
I'll back Eddie up though. He
can make mistakes.
Hunt dropped 2 balls last weekend, high balls, and we have been going to Tavana. Right, we've got a Rolls Royce in Buller that hasn't been utilised as far as under the high ball. And when he goes, so I'm not saying stop going to Tavana. We want to do that, but we don't have to do it every time. And a ball in the centre to Hunt with Buller coming through, I reckon it's not a bad switch.
100%. And we spoke about this privately yesterday, Steve. But this is the week. Greg Marju on that left wing. Nothing. Oh, mate, I'm almost kicking on tackle 3 to Tino this week because of the fact that Marju is so bad under the high ball defensively. But I definitely agree that we have to have that little bit of versatility to give Dream those opportunities as well because he's so elite when he's coming with momentum to leap and take that ball.
Our attack in general, Rob, the boys were going at it in the group chat earlier today. 114 points, though, in 4 games. If my maths is correct, that's nearly 28 points a game. Are we the 4th best attack in the league, or is that misleading?
I think it's misleading. I know Adel will say, look, facts are facts, and you can use stats to state any case you want. I think to put it simply, as I said in the chat, who's got the better red zone attack, Parramatta or us? You'd say Parramatta. They run their shape better than us, and their attack is nowhere near.
You're allowed to score tries from 80 metres out, Rob.
I get that. No, we put on some wonderful tries against New Zealand from long range. I accept that too, but look, unfortunately, I got corrupted today by my youngest son, Brendan, who didn't appear on the show, and he's given me a whole bevy of facts and
I hear he's like Macassini coming through, Brendan. He's going to make his debut at some point this year on the podcast.
I don't think he will, but I'm very biased. I think he's got a lot of footy nous about him, and honestly, it's way above my pay grade. But no, I don't think we've got the best. It depends what you define by attack. So Adel put some stats on the chat today. What are we? 54% possession all year.
But we're ranked points per game. We're the fourth best in the competition, and at the end of the day,
and we've had
that's average.
That's average. Okay.
Average points per game. So in the end, we can have whatever opinion we want. It's like saying the Broncos weren't the best team in the comp last year. They won the comp. At the end of the day, the rankings and where you sit dictates where you are. You know what? You can actually make the argument if we're the fourth ranked attack at the moment and our attack isn't going well, we're probably above fourth then if we're our best, what our best should look like. So technically, you can actually argue that we're probably higher than fourth.
So I'll be interested to see what you guys say. But I actually, after watching Canberra Knights today, I actually think our attacking style is fantastically suited to breaking down their defence.
I agree.
Because I'll tell you why. Canberra rolled through the middle easily. Our tight forwards are rolling down the field well. I think we'll make great yardage most sets. I think we'll beat them in the yardage game. Once they start to fatigue, their markers fall off big time, right? And we've got the best hooker in the game to take advantage of lazy, slow, not square markers. So I reckon if we play that middle channel and bring them in and then use our weapons out wide, I think we'll break them
I'm doing
down.
it for 100 metres. I'm actually going into that red zone and I'm playing all those little trick play block shapes off Uppy at 9, and that's where exactly I'm playing Newcastle after watching them today. They are so poor in the middle of the field. They've got guys who are still learning their craft. Someone like Trey Mooney, for example, if he's on the field, so poor laterally. If he has to make a double effort, he's in a bit of trouble. Phoenix Crosland is not the best first contact defender, and you're going at him as well. I'm just sitting in the middle of the field pretty much all game this week.
Just back to our attack. The game is not all about shape, but I watched a team like Cronulla on Sunday, and they put on some beautiful set piece tries, and it all looks silky. And sitting behind the post yesterday, you're watching Parramatta, and they look like they get in position and they know what they're doing on the set plays. Where can we improve on our block plays? Is it the halves that are letting us down there, or is it the outside backs not being in the right position, or it's a combination of everything?
I think Adel's probably the person to break that down a little bit better than me. From what I see, I think especially Jock. I think Jock does dig into the line straight. I think our ball playing prop, the guy that gets the ball first or that runs the decoy, sometimes doesn't run straight, runs on a bit of an angle towards where we're trying to attack to. I think that takes away from the space. I think some of that little interchange of passing is so mini-mod, under sevens. It just looks slow. And we're talking about who the best attacks are. We played New Zealand 2 weeks ago. Okay, we basically couldn't strip them of numbers inside the red zone. Okay, Cronulla stripped them at will, and I'm talking two-man overlaps. Will Kennedy scoring a couple of tries the other day,
untouched,
untouched where Zalesny, Dallin Watini-Zalesniak's there, and he's got Iro and he's got Stone Street outside him. Like, they strip you of numbers so well, Cronulla. Brisbane can do it really well. Parra can do it well, but onto Newcastle. As Steve said, I think they're an opponent that suits us more. I actually didn't go, say publicly, Adel. I disagreed with you that Adel, that Parramatta were a good match for us. I actually was worried about how they can throw 3 or 4 shots at you when they get field position. I don't think Newcastle are like that. I think they really play more our style, but we're better at it.
The reason I said that about Parramatta is because their yardage is so poor. A team that can roll you is our concern. Someone that can get down the field on us. And when we're on the back foot, which they did when we got down to 12, that's the concern for us. They're the type of teams we're going to struggle against. In regards to shape, and I put those stats up today, there is a reason why Brisbane are one of the worst completion rate teams in the comp, and it's because they've got Ferraris all over the field. It almost, and I agree with you, Rob, it looks very stop-start, staggered in what they do. I think, and I'm only presuming, our priority is that we're completing. And we talked about it at the game yesterday when you said, we want to complete, we've got to score this set. And I just said, no, I want us to complete the whole set. Because what you want teams to do is have to defend. When every single time you've got a set of 6, they're having to defend for 6 tackles, it means they have to work. How many times did I point to you and look at their middles? They're absolutely knackered because they had to work the whole set. And that's what grinding a football team does. Now, we don't have the same chemistry, and probably we don't have as Isaiah Yeo as Penrith, but that's what Penrith do. I know we're not Penrith, but you know what? We can get as close to being that sort of style of football now because of the fact that what our forward pack is starting to look like. I believe that the other thing I want to see from Jock, and I've watched it because I watched the game again this morning, and I apologise, Rob. I thought he was in our top 4 players. There you go.
So he's gone up from top 17 to top 4. That's
the only thing I want to see.
He got 6 Dally M points. We'll talk about that later.
Don't worry about those people. They got no idea. They watch the highlights. They want the highlights. No. I want to see him run the ball. When we're in that shape, he hasn't threatened to run once. That's probably the next step to basically take a little bit of pressure off the guys out the back.
Correct.
Because the guys that he's playing straight to are just sinking off him because there's no threat to run the ball. So that's probably the next thing we want to try seeing from him. With Benji as his coach, I have no doubt that'll be pointed out to him.
Do you reckon Jock, Jock was straight into the line, absolutely. Do you reckon the rest, like Dewey and Buller and the rest of them, are actually drifting too sideways against Parramatta?
Yeah, because they're not. That's not their strength. And I talked about it today. The reason Benji coaches that way, and if you go back and watch Benji, especially the back end of his career at South, that's the shape South used to play. He loves that shape where the first guy plays really straight, and you got someone like Cody Walker and Benji used to be the guys on the back of it, off the back of Reynolds, for example. And what they're doing is they're catching the ball going at the space that the block shape is creating. Dewey, Jerome, and Buller don't do that. Jerome does that really,
really well. Are they too
well.
far back? That was pointed out to me today because I was told when other teams run shape at us, we've got to make a decision, jam or whatever the case, and we get caught out, whether it's Macca jamming in or Luke jamming in. But when we run shape, if it goes out the back, for example, they can slide. We don't seem to commit them enough to give us that overlap.
They are, and my presumption is because all we're about is completing. It's not make the error. It's not put the pass into the space so that there's pressure. And then all of a sudden our basic fundamental skill set of catch, pass becomes really important. That's what the good teams do, right?
Yeah.
They've got the ability to be really slick and be able to just catch and pass in one motion. We're not there. We don't have those guys. Jerome is our best ball player, and Jerome's strength is probably more his running. So that's where I think Madden, and Benji talked about this, Madden, Dewey, Buller, we're trying to play to their strengths, and their strength is running. And it's going to have to come off the back of probably our forwards laying a bit of a platform, getting a bit of speed, and they're going to be able to create the space for themselves out wide. It's not going to be a block shape to a bloke out in the back and he's going to be able to throw a tunnel ball to the winger to score in the corner because that's not what these guys do. So it's probably just going to be one of those things that he's saying to the players, and he's talked about it, play to your strengths.
Coach has segued me nicely there because that's a good problem for Benji to have. I know I'm jumping ahead, but Jerome Luai will be back in the next couple of weeks. Is there a path there that Jock Madden could remain the halfback and Adam Dewey, given Taylor May's not going to be back for 3 weeks, might have to go out to the centres? Or do you think, given Adam's been one of our best players the last 12 months, I know he hasn't played traditional halfback role the past 2 weeks, and the fact they're winning, it'll just be Adam to 7, Jerome to 6 when he's back?
If Jock Madden plays to the standard that he set the last fortnight, it would be very hard for Benji to drop him. It would need to take Jock, I think, to really go backwards in his play. Like I said, I know it wasn't the be-all and end-all, but I loved his defence yesterday. 25 tackles for me.
He showed he can do the job. Is probably the best way to put it.
Even like kick chase. He'd put a kick down, he'd go chase himself, he'd go tackle the fullback.
He's got great kick IQ, Rob.
Yeah, it's almost like he knows every game he's playing might be his last first grade game. That he's playing with a desperation, like, I need to prove myself, I need to show who I am.
Can I also say, and I'm not having a go here,
sure,
but it's like as fans, and it's more for everybody out there because we do observe that as the language we use is it's hard for Benji to drop him. No one's getting dropped if we're winning football games. It's making way for Jerome. Like, that's going to be the key. Whoever the decision he makes, you're not actually – because that'll be a tough conversation. Hey, Jock, Adam, whoever, look, you've been outstanding. You've done everything we've asked of you. Jerome's back. The next thing we need best for the team is you to either go back to New South Wales Cup or you're going to have to go back to the bench and do this role. You know, you talk about Jarrell Skelton. I'm not sure if you guys watched the video yesterday when they showed the bench after Madden kicks the winning goal. Jarrell is celebrating like he's a part of the team.
Same for Tristan Hope, who didn't get a game last 3 weeks.
It's so important that language, even from us fans, is not, that Benji's dropping people. It's because, what's best for the team is this guy comes back. It's going to be tough. You're right.
Oh, I think it's about the personnel too, because we're talking about block shapes now. Okay, when you've got someone like Taruva, who, as Adel said last night, isn't really comfortable from an attacking point of view on that side. When we go right, it's almost like let's just give Kai Pearce-Paul some early ball and let him create that way, and let's run our shape to the left.
I'm going to make a prediction. I think Kai Pearce-Paul gets some opportunity to play shape off him this week. There's
We'll be up for a big one against Jock Club.
Next prediction.
Shape off Jock.
No. So I think there'll be a couple of times, because I know Benji loves doing this, and I reckon I've watched the last couple of weeks. He's brought in some of those Benji trick shots where you actually tip onto the back rower and he runs the block shape off him. So if it happens this week, you can call me Rob Stradamus.
Just back to Luai. Luai coming back. There is absolutely an argument that can be made to say Madden stays at 7, Luai goes to 6, and Dewey goes to centre, especially with our injuries. But anyone who knows anything about the game talks about the importance of a full off-season and a full pre-season and getting those combinations and working together, and how when you have a full pre-season, it just launches you into the season. We're seeing it. We're seeing it with our team. I don't reckon there's a chance in hell that Benji changes what they've done all pre-season at this point in the season. I think even if we're short in the centres, he'll do what he's doing now to keep Dewey at halfback.
So if Jerome is available against Canberra, I'm not saying Jerome would get dropped, by the way. Jerome will be back no matter what. I accept he is a concrete part of our team. But if Madden gets man of the match against Newcastle and Brisbane, I think he's there the week after at 7. And I think as great as Adam is playing, I think they'll play Adam in some sort of floating role where he gets to maybe roam a little bit around in attack, because we know one thing with Adam, his strength is running the ball. Okay, so if he's getting the ball, it's not really going to be promoted much after he gets the ball.
I would agree with you guys until the Defana thing happened. I think Benji's shown that if he needs to make a big call and he thinks that's what's going to make us win football games, he'd do it. And it's funny, right? I've been all along saying, and then this morning I'm like, I don't know. I actually don't know. You sort of look ahead and you think, is Jock the best 7 for us? I don't know. Like, I'm being honest. You say to me, you're coaching the West Tigers tomorrow and Jerome's back. I genuinely tell you, what they'll do is they'll sit with the leadership group. They'll be a part of that decision, the players. They'll have the conversation. And Adam's in that leadership group, and so is Jerome, and they will talk about it. But the one thing about professional rugby league at the moment is they'll sit around a table like this, and it'll be some hard conversations. Benji will lead it, and he'll sit there and go, for example, he'll sit there and say to them, guys, I think Jock should be our 7. Adam, I think you should go back to the bench. Let's just say that's what he wants, right? And then there'll be a discussion. And you can sway the coaches, or he will stick solid to what he wants. If it's me, if push comes to shove, Adam's still our 7.
Newcastle halves, a bit of an unconventional pair. Fletcher Sharp, who's been on fire this year, more of a runner, and then Sandon Smith, who's obviously Roosters reject, you could say, but he's filled a role this year. He can be very rocks and diamonds defensively.
Just got to wrap up the forwards to stop Fletcher Sharp. Fletcher Sharp, if he gets an offload from one of his forwards and he gets some space, he's fine. I'm actually happy that he's at 5'8" rather than a fullback. I think when he's got more room, he's more dangerous. And we saw what he did to us, 2 or 3 years ago as a winger up in Newcastle. I think he scored 2 or 3 tries one afternoon down the right wing. So give him space. He's probably the fastest bloke on the field. At 5'8", I don't think he can do much if we're on our toes. As long as the markers don't chase on him too quickly, where he can be with a step like Mitch Moses did late in the game the other night, I think we can keep him under tabs. As for Sandon Smith, I think he's a pretty poor defender. The Roosters don't let go of many people that, I know they got DCE, but they don't let go of many people that are good enough to stay in their system, and he was always going up and down from first grade to reserve grade. So does a role for them, a bit like Jock, probably not as good as Jock, but they're kind of similar in the sense they both goal kick for the team. They're doing lots of different things that are similar.
Yeah, I reckon one area that we've really got to watch, and this is where Sharp could come into his own, and Hunt as well, is broken play, second phase play. We've got to wrap the ball up, and we've got to minimise the broken play opportunities, because I thought Newcastle really jumped on that broken play opportunity, and when they got a bit of space, they ran. Those blokes, Sharp and Hunt and Smith, can make havoc.
Yeah, they're counterpunchers. I don't think they take the game to you. They just take what you can get, and then you give an opportunity, then they might do something from that. But they're just going to try and grind like we grind. I don't think I'm biased here. I just think we're doing it better than they do it.
When you defend against a player like Sharp, do you try and rush someone like that might not be the best in terms of organising or kicking, or is that when he's most dangerous? Someone shoots out of the line and can use his footwork and go around you.
He's not going to attack, like Rob said, with shape. It's going to be him. Or, sorry, it was Steve then talked about broken play. What you do is you sell out on everyone else. You say everybody else can beat us except Fletcher Sharp. It's like that moment last night with Moses. He comes off his right foot. That's inexcusable. And they would have talked about it all week. When the moment he comes to run, you don't worry about anybody else. You make the tackle. You make him get rid of the football, and it's somebody else's job. And on top of that, when he passes the football, you make sure you tackle him. Even if you're giving away a penalty, there's no double opportunity. And Fletcher Sharp's in the same boat. So he basically, any sort of second phase play and the ball goes to Sharp, it's basically what they call alert, and it's just stop him. Stop his progression. If he passes the football, you're there, you're pressuring him, and you're making the tackle after he passes the ball as well so that he can't come back with a second effort in the play.
The forward pack matchup, they've got a fairly unheralded pack, but Dylan Lucas on that left edge, he's a real threat.
Very dangerous, a massive try-scoring machine. Maybe not so much this year, but in previous years he seems to know his way to the try line. Again, I think there's only a limited number of players, given they've got their three best strike weapons out, that you've got to watch. I mean, I think Hunt is a danger on the attacking high ball. We've mentioned Sharp. You mentioned Lucas. I don't really see any other. I mean, Young is an aerial threat. Can I just ask Adel a question? Adel, would you play the wingers on the same side this week? Do we sort of try and nullify Young with putting Tavana on the left, or do you want Tavana on the other side to attack Marju?
Tino Tavana's like going to have a beautiful stake this week coming up against Marzu. You almost sit there and just target that all game, and you don't sort of try to defend it, especially playing against the Knights this week. We're in second spot. We look like the better football side this year. We go after them. Let's let them make the change to sort of defend Tavana.
Okay.
That's got to be our mindset going into this week. I don't think Dominic Young's that good under the high ball. He's not. I mean, he's a good leaper.
He's
I don't
a
think
good leaper.
He
can bat the ball back.
I don't think
though. That's hard for Skelton.
That's a part of our game. We've just got to be able to defend. I mean, that's a part of being a first grade winger.
It's almost like I think we should be giving away penalties and just let them have.
Well, the new standard is you can be very, very. It's dangerous because obviously not only is it yesterday there was an injury, but there was a sin bin in the Newcastle game last week, which I actually thought was a great decision.
It was a great
where
decision.
Tamale grabs his arm. That's a professional foul. So you do have to be cautious. You've just got to go up and compete. You got to get the leap right. You got to get two hands up in the air, full extension, have a really good vertical, and at the very least, you've got to be able to contest for the football because it does become a lottery.
Anything our forward pack's got to do differently? They've been outstanding this year. I thought maybe the first 15 minutes yesterday, maybe you could credit Parramatta, but we weren't getting out of our own end then.
Yeah, no, I don't. I actually think what I said earlier, watching the way Newcastle defend, I think we've got to play the game we've been playing. I think our forwards have got to roll forward. I think we've got a definite advantage on our bench. I think our bench is a stronger bench than their bench. So I just keep that rolling, that 25-minute mark when we make our first changes. When Hunt comes on and Sione comes on, and just keep rolling down the middle. And I just think Appy's in for the game of his life. Appy has just got to be watching the markers and watching behind the ruck and orchestrating the game from there. And if he does that, I reckon we'll make yards.
Just quietly, Steve, you've watched us for a few years, and so have you, Rob. Is this the best up he's playing? Like he just, he is elite.
I'm going to say no, and that's not a knock on Appy. I think he's playing as well as ever. I've seen him single-handedly play the games of his life in losing games.
But I think he's but we're looking at attacking highlight plays.
I reckon it's the most complete he's ever played. Is
like this is what really pisses me off. How's he not in the Origin conversation? Like I'm watching these Brayleys and these Robsons who
get all the raps in the world,
and I'm sitting there going, yeah, okay, they're okay, but are you watching this guy? I know I'm being biased, but at the same time, I'm sitting there going, proven premiership winner, and not at one club, at two clubs, has come to another club from a wooden spoon, has been consistently our best player for the last 3 years straight, and it's disrespect. Anyway,
it is disrespect, but I was going to say, I think the thing with New South Wales is they just want literally a Steve Walters type of hooker. They just want like a.
You don't want the guy that played with Nathan Cleary more than all of them.
No, but I'll tell I tell you why, because there's this argument that Appy's too creative out of dummy half and might hold that ball for the extra engagement markers, hold the ball for a split second more, where they just want someone to shuttle the ball to Cleary.
What does Harry Grant do for Queensland?
You're preaching to the converted. I'm just telling you they're ridiculous.
That's the ridiculousness of New South Wales.
When I hear the comparisons, Brayley's got to be in the conversation for Origin. I just laugh. He should not be doing Appy's shoelaces up. Like there's no comparison.
It's probably just the fact they've been winning for a few years and we've been losing.
I think
I also think that there's that perception that he's a defensive liability. Like you look at the tackle sheet and you'll see 4 missed tackles, but I put that down to the fact that he's just everywhere and so involved. Like he'll make that last scraps, grab at a bloke and might miss it. So, but I think that is the perception that's out there a little bit.
Last one on the Knights, coach. Tyson Frizzell playing off the bench, but he's been playing really well this year. I noticed a couple of times he's been getting them on the front foot, quick play the ball, still a good player.
Yeah, and I think that's really good strategy from their coaching staff, and there would have been a tough conversation with Tyson because obviously everyone wants to start these days, but it's almost about making sure that when the changes come, that standard doesn't drop. That would be just as important this week against us because our bench has been outstanding all year. The one thing about our forward pack at the moment, nothing drops, does it? Like in previous years, you can be a little bit critical of that, but at the moment, we've got the Greek god, or he's a Lebanese god, but he looks like a Greek god in Alex Twala as our 13 at the moment, and he's going to another level. Watching the game again this morning, I'm sorry, I didn't think he was that good yesterday. I thought it was a typical Alex Twala performance. I watched the game again today. He was unbelievable. And I'm just sitting there and going, their forward pack can't match ours.
Very confident like last week.
If we can have the same numbers in possession and complete, if we complete above 80% this week, we'll win by 20 or more. If we do drop the ball a little bit and give them more equal share of possession, the game will be close, but I'm super confident.
You mentioned that next 3 weeks and going in blocks of 4. This block of 4, we got 2 in a row at Campbelltown against an injury hit Broncos coming up, then the Raiders who've been struggling at Leichhardt. Then I think we go to Shark Park, but who's to say we can't be 5 or 6 wins after 8 rounds?
Yeah, I think the biggest test for our team is, can we keep doing this every week because the bye is so far away? We've got at least another, 8 or 9 rounds, Steve? What are we, round 13 or 14 for the bye?
Yeah, round 13, I think.
There's some questions up there, Eddie, I might get asked. I want you to pose the Appy one to Adel, actually. But yeah, look, this is, I said yesterday before the game against Parramatta, I can accept losing against Parramatta if we beat Newcastle. It is so important, not for the 2 points, but for everything to do with Campbelltown and that whole area. And the reality is, guys, when in 50 years, when I'm long gone from here, that area needs to be thriving and everyone out there needs to be passionate about the West Tigers. And I just hope the people that come to the game on Sunday just walk away from there saying, I can't wait for next week when we play Brisbane, or I can't wait for the next home game after that. And you know what? To the point where they want to travel from Campbelltown to Leichhardt or Campbelltown to Combank. And we've just got to get, more passionate supporters, build a membership up. You talk about Penrith. I think it's hilarious that I reckon if we won one semi-final this year, just one semi-final, you put that with their 4 premierships, we'll fill our stadiums quicker than Penrith. We've just got a bigger fan base.
The other thing that I reckon is really important this week, like you talk about Campbelltown, but it's also that 3 in a row. Like I think our players have got to build belief that they can go on a run. Like if you want to do it, you can't play 2 games and drop 2. Right? We win 2 games and drop 2. We've got to instill a belief that we can win 3, 4, 5. Why can't we win 5 on a row? We should beat Newcastle. We should beat a busted Broncos, and who we got after that?
Canberra at Leichhardt.
Canberra, we should win that game.
But Benji will keep everyone just looking at this week.
You can't win 4 without winning 3. That's what he'll be telling them.
But the one thing is, Adel, he's keeping everyone in the moment. Like even on playing the game, they're literally trying to win the tackle. They're trying to stay literally in that moment. They're not looking ahead. They're doing their job. I know you said we might win by 20 if all things go well. I will be very happy to have a 2-score lead with 6 or 7 minutes left. I think we just don't force it. Just play the percentages against them. I think we're just better at playing the percentages than them, and they can't really get too fancy. I think we've got the ability where if we have to play a lot more ad-lib, do some offloads, Terrell, Twally, these guys promoting the ball more, we can do that if we need to take risks. But I don't think we've got to overplay it. Let's just beat them with some good solid footy this week.
We'll do what we've been doing the last 3-4 weeks. We'll keep playing football. We're going to kick to the corners. We're going to make them come out of their own end, and then when we get the football, our outside back's going to carry. We've lost Luke, Jarrell. One thing we'll say about Jarrell is he carries really well out of yardage, and he does that outstandingly.
What did he do the other week at Leichhardt, 200 metres or something?
Yeah.
All right, boys. Just about time to wrap it up. But was there anything, Steve, that you learnt yesterday watching the replay that we didn't touch on out of that Parramatta game? We had a few squabbles in here about the officiating and whether it should have been a sin bin, and some of us thought it was, and some of us thought it was a ridiculous decision. Yeah,
well, there's a few things, obviously, that you pick up when you watch it after the emotion of being at a game. I won't go into the Mitchell Moses stuff. That's been covered, but the guy's
a malacca, they call him.
He's unbelievable. But anyway, I'll leave that alone. He should have been suspended, though, I believe. You don't touch a ref. What I did take away from watching it today was that you do need a bit of luck to win consistently in the NRL. And at the end, we were lucky. I missed that at the game. I missed the knock on from the front rower. I must have just terminated the right
Tavana.
Yeah,
Tavana, the winger.
No, when we put the kick through and he knocked on, and then we got and this is right. This
is
Jack
right Williams.
Yeah, Jack Williams. Yeah. And I missed that. So that was a real stroke of luck for us. But from a positive perspective, the other thing I picked up was what you said, Adel. Jock Madden. I thought he was good, but after watching him, he was bloody brilliant.
Anything else, Coach? When on replay, you mentioned Alex Twal. You thought played out of his skin. Any other guys we didn't mention last night?
Jareem Buller. I thought Jareem Buller was outstanding yesterday, and obviously we've talked about it at length about the whole contracting, and I think there's a lot of bias. I mean, I struggled at the game yesterday because there was some people carrying on about him, but I thought he was outstanding. When you watched it live, I thought he was really good. Him, Twali, Jock. When I watched the game on replay today, I thought they were both brilliant. All three of them were brilliant, sorry.
He's probably like, I'll give a cricket analogy. I know you're into your cricket analogies, but he's probably like a wicketkeeper. When he's not there, if Jareem's not there, you probably notice him even more because he's so safe and dependable. And I think that's maybe, like I have in the past, been critical of him because a couple of times it looks like he's playing within himself. But maybe if he's not there, you go, oh, my God.
It's Mark Waugh, right? They used to say he's lazy because he plays so comfortably.
That's elegant style.
When Jareem carries the football back, the other thing I've noticed about that actually watching the game back is every time we were carrying the ball back and Jareem was running really softly the first 5 or 6 metres, it was because he was waiting for his centre and winger to come back because they were looking at opportunities to potentially shift the ball straight to the wingers and being able to sort of get on the front foot for us immediately. So I like that.
I thought he was so safe under the high ball and the way he carried the ball back. That actually felt bad last night. I realised after the show we didn't mention Buller. The thing I noticed, Eddie, I know we've come back 3 times in a row from 10-0, and I did mention last night we dominated that first 15, 20 minutes in the second half. I don't think in the previous 2 games we turned a game around with our defence. We turned around that second half, the first 15 minutes. We kept them pinned in their quarter line, and that's what I took out of watching the replay. And how many times can you say the West Tigers turned a game around with their defence? That was one thing I took.
$1.70 to make the 8, Coach. I know we can't bet on games. But, is that your money, Rob? You were very confident.
I won't bet on the Tigers because it's just a jinx. I'll actually bet on the other team for an emotional head if I was going to do that. But one thing I will say, I'm really superstitious with tipping comps, and I just said, fuck it, I'm tipping the Tigers this week, and I did.
All right, boys. Well, that was excellent. We'll all be out at Campbelltown on Sunday. I know, Steve, though, the ambush. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, just quickly, we are at the Sherwood Hotel this Sunday at 2 o'clock, a couple of hours before kickoff, and we'll do the usual ambush thing. We'll have a podcast-style pre-game discussion. We'll also have some giveaways, and there might be a signed ball being given away, and some meal deals from the Sherwood. So we've got that. Hopefully, we'll have a guest. We haven't tied that up yet, so we've got to get Benji nailed down to give us a guest for 2 o'clock. But if you've got nothing to do pre-game, come to the Sherwood and come and have a chat with the ambush.
And our giveaway, Rob, I was keeping an eye on the screen.
I was making sure, mate. I was making sure.
All the comments throughout the chat. Sorry I didn't get a reference. I didn't want to trigger the coach because I saw his mate Gaz is in there again. So I thought, but he's been, if Adam Mason, 7895, he wrote a comment. I didn't write it all down, but he talked about being out there yesterday and feeling an atmosphere like that and how good the West Tigers fans were. So if Adam Mason, 7895, if you can send your email address in, we will send a double pass to Campbelltown next Sunday. But boys, it's been a pleasure. I think you've done the 3 shows in less than 24 hours, but it's easy when you're winning.
It's easy, and it's like Adel said, having the best team on board today was incredible. There was a good, bad, but there was no ugly today, was there, Steve?
No, there was no ugly. No.
Are you coming down next week now, or you're not sure?
Nah, I'm not sure, but unlikely. But look, They say the best thing about Sydney is leaving, and I get to do that tomorrow morning. So.
We'll see you. There's a little parting shot. We'll see you on Screen Coach next week. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to all our viewers and listeners, and we'll see you on Sunday out at Campbelltown and for the Claws Out and Coaches Report Sunday.